All right, welcome back. This is Foster the Podcast, episode 4. I am your host, Foster the Prankster. Thank you for joining us once again. Took a little time off to celebrate the holidays. I know y'all thought y'all probably got rid of me, but it's not going to be that easy. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. We are on the verge of a brand new year, 2024, right around the corner. By the time y'all see this, it will probably already be here. So happy New Year. We got a lot to get into, especially taking a week off. A lot of things have gone on. You know, these days the news cycle is expedient. Things are here and gone. So a lot of things have happened within the past week and a half or so. Let's jump right into it, man. So a big story, Donald Trump was removed from the ballot in Colorado for the Republican primary. The state is claiming, that claiming the 14th Amendment, that apparently Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that was written during the Civil War prohibited, officials who had sworn an oath to the Constitution and performed a quote-unquote insurrection against the government were not eligible to hold office again. And so they are attempting to invoke this Section 3 to keep Trump from running for president again. So right now, that happened, I guess, like maybe a week ago or so. And since the Republican Party in Colorado is filed an appeal to the Colorado Supreme Court to try to get that decision overturned. And we have an article here that we'll pull up. So Trump is back on the ballot in Colorado while state Republicans appeal ban to Supreme Court. But then, you have another interesting incident. I think a couple of days later, Maine joins Colorado in finding Trump ineligible for primary ballot. So Maine, Secretary of State in Maine, has also made a move to remove Trump from the ballot. California, I guess this article says California has said that his name will remain on the ballot there. And this is just like, this is some crazy stuff, man. This is, kind of pulling out all the stops. Now, if you followed me at all, you know that I don't subscribe to the political system. I think a lot of this stuff is essentially Hollywood. It's politics is like reality TV for people who think that they're too smart for reality TV, right? So it's a way of, presenting these figures, these celebrity politicians, and the drama that ensues with the sort of soap opera storylines that go along with a lot of these people in political office. I don't think that they're the ones that are actually in power. And something I've been saying for a long time, one of my little isms or my little quotes that I be getting off is you're being provoked. I say this all the time on social media, man. You're being provoked. They use the show. They use what you see on the camera to manipulate your emotions, and it's a popular tactic in the WWE. And Chris Hedges, who's a great author, wrote an amazing book called Empire of Illusion, where he talks about this tactic called kayfabe. Kayfabe is essentially like a form of performance art. It's sort of a blending Hollywood, on camera persona with reality, so you don't really ever know if the person is playing the character or if it's if it's an actual person. So this was popularized, obviously, like I said, in WWE. Vince McMahon, who's marketing PR kind of genius of our time. This is the sort of thing that they used in wrestling, pro wrestling storylines to like keep the audience captivated. So I think a lot of this stuff is rituals, man. Voting and things like protest, they're rituals. They're forms of pressure release valves. So it sort of gives the population the illusion of control, and it gives them an outlet for that aggression that ultimately has no consequence for our rulers. You can vote and protest all you want, but it doesn't mean that, things are going to turn out the way that you think they will. And so, a lot of people think this is ridiculous and, it's impossible that the whole government is just for show. And, why would they attack Trump if he wasn't really a threat? And, if voting doesn't matter, then why would the government be attacking voting rights and things like this? And it's kind of the whole point of this is just follow me and assume that what I'm saying has some validity. The point of this would be, you attack a guy like Trump because you build him up as a symbol of the thing that the voter or the American citizen attaches himself to. So, they attack Trump because it makes you think that he is a threat to them rather than that he is part of a game that's being played, a joke that's being played on you. They do things with voting rights to make you believe that voting is this like ultimate thing that you need to protect while they're stripping all of your other rights away. The voting never actually mattered, but you were so focused on fighting about what you thought about, they're trying to like rig the elections and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, the politicians you're voting for, they don't even actually work for you. And so it just gives you this carrot to chase that doesn't even matter if you catch it. And so these are we keep coming back to these same themes, but again, like with what we talked about with COVID, with what we've talked about with all of this different social engineering stuff, these are stimuli that are presented to you to trigger. We'll use the MK Ultra sort of nomenclature again. It's a stimuli to trigger these desired base emotional responses in the subject, which is you or us, all of us. And this is sort of the nature of destabilization, these psychological operations that go along with this stuff. This is the nature of these operations as they've been carried out in, historically in other countries by our CIA. And this is sort of why I believe that, when I say stuff like this, I believe the call is coming from inside the house, so to speak. So what is the desired response, right? If what I'm saying, if they want to do this to trigger a response from the public, what would that desired response be? And I genuinely do believe that, people are being provoked for a sort of civil uprising and for people to sort of lash out, do things that will give the government cause and justification for more top-down control, martial law, things like this is something that, guys like Alex Jones have been talking about for a long time. But you see these moves being made and you see the machine working to sort of do, to carry out its agenda. I believe that they want to categorize patriotic civilians, people who love this country, as domestic terrorists, and they're going to claim that these people who, the Trump supporters and people like this who, and I'm not on either side of this. Like I just said, I'm not a politics guy. I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in Republican, Democrat. I don't believe in left and right. And it's funny to me when people, because of it's such a binary thinking that people are in, they get confused by me because a lot of times people will assume that I'm conservative, Republican, whatever that is. And then I'll say something else that people will be like, oh, so you're a leftist. And it's like, no, I don't care about any of that stuff. I pick and choose my stance based on what I believe is morally, righteous, or what is the right thing to do. It's not based on any sort of like party, like this binary, like party loyalty sort of system. But like I said, I do believe that they're going to categorize people who love America as domestic terrorists, and they're going to claim that those people want to destroy the country. And which is rhetoric that Trump throws at the other side as well. So you got both sides really claiming that the other side wants to destroy the country. Meanwhile, the same government, and both sides, Republican and Democrat, are allowing this influx of illegal migrants who don't share any of our cultural values. And I think those people, they've openly talked about it. I forget who the general was. It might have been Blinken or somebody got on TV talking about how we should be enlisting these people, right, in our military. So you're importing these migrants who don't share our cultural values while you're destabilizing our system and our currency and our social we talked about in the last episode with the ski mask situation. Our social trust and cohesion is also being eroded, and you're bringing in all these foreign people who don't really have a stake, right? But I believe those people may in the future be militarized against naturalized citizens of this country to fight for what they're going to consider their new home, right? So the government brings all these people in and says, oh yeah, like this is America. This is a land of opportunity. Look at all we did for you. We allowed you to come in here, and you see videos of migrants, getting brand new cell phones and getting all this stuff. And so you can sort of incentivize these people who have come here from relatively destabilized countries in relation to the U.S., countries with less resources, less opportunity. So you've allowed these people to come in and sort of incentivize them to preserve the perceived opportunity and mobility that the U.S. is going to claim to offer them. So it's like, oh, you got to fight these people who were born in America because they're trying to take America from you, right? They're trying to, you got something good going and they want to take it from you now. And so by time, if there is to be conflict over this, by time it's over, the migrants who've come here seeking this new life, they might not even end up being better off than where they started. But by then it won't matter because they'll have already done the state's dirty work, right? So this is this is something I said during COVID, stabilization stuff that I've been talking about for a long time because, they're sort of weaponizing this resentment. Internally, we see this, among racial groups within the U.S. and things that are being exacerbated by this increasing animosity between citizens and migrants. And I think that this has the potential to really shake things up in a different and, I hesitate to say interesting way, but it's going to be tough to sort of navigate through the social upheaval that I think is about to take place due to all of these different factors, and as well as us going into an election year with all the political, the circus antics that they're going to throw in the ring. And, to kind of go along with this a little bit, the FBI is warning of possible attacks at the New Year's Eve celebration this year in Times Square. We have this article here, USA Today. So the FBI is, they're saying they don't have any like credible threats or anything, but that they suggest that, NYPD ramp up staffing and state troopers and sort of like be on high alert for any sort of false, that was a kind of a Freudian slip there. Any sort of, terrorist attacks or anything like this that might take place. There's apparently a pro-Palestine protest that's scheduled to also take place. So I hesitate. I almost said false flag there for a minute because if you've, again, I'm from the East Coast. I've celebrated Times Square New Year's Eve once in my lifetime, and people who are from the area, generally we don't really mess with it just because it's such a crazy event. But yeah, man, I mean, the one time I went, what I will say is it's dicey. It's a little sketchy, man. I think, because you go there and what you see on TV is just these, masses of people jammed into Times Square. But what you don't really often see is that those people are barricaded in with like metal police fencing. Like you're let in through certain points and then sort of closed into these areas so that they can keep people like contained and the streets sort of clear for emergencies and whatever. But it's not a place that I personally would want to be. It's a cage. You're in a cage with a bunch of strangers. And if there ever were to be a major false flag, a 9/11 style event, this Times Square New Year's Eve it would make a statement for sure. It would get people riled up. It would get people panicked. It would have all the effects that I think the ruling class would like to see psychologically to maybe justify furthering, this conflict in the Middle East with Iraq/Iran. It's they're kind of just throwing darts all over the place now. But, I hesitate to even cover this because, like I said, after you guys see this, it will probably already be after the new year. So we're not going to speculate about what might have happened because it probably already did or didn't happen. But I do hope that everybody remains safe and sort of keeps their head on a swivel and, that nothing major, nothing serious goes on at this year's New Year's Eve ball drop. So let's move on. California has announced, this will go back to our conversation about the sort of friction between migrants and citizens. California has announced that they will be providing free healthcare to all undocumented migrants beginning January 1st. So as of New Year's Day, all undocumented immigrants in California are now eligible for free healthcare, which, again, American citizens don't even have, but we will, we'll take that on the chin, I guess, or at least the Californians will. And it's funny because, it's free, right? It's free healthcare for all undocumented immigrants, which it's not because, again, this is going to be through Medi-Cal, which is California's version of the federal Medicaid program for people with low income. So this really is going to, it's going to be paid for by the taxpayers, essentially, because this, it's a state medical fund that is going to be providing these services. So this is going to be passed on to the local citizens, whether through taxes, more taxes, because California, I believe, is one of the most heavily taxed states in the country as it is. More taxes, higher insurance premiums, probably, just higher costs all around for the people. And so again, man, I think, setting the stage for a sort of clash of interest between naturalized, born American citizens who should be reaping the rights and privileges that this country has to offer, and sort of just handing them out to whoever runs across the border. Crazy, man. Crazy. I don't know how, if you're still in California, I don't know how you're dealing with that, but good luck, man. That's all I got to say about that. In other healthcare news, we'll jump from that to the experts are back. The experts are back in a big way. They are warning of a new COVID variant, the JN1 variant, that may lead to a heart failure pandemic. A heart failure pandemic, which of course has nothing to do absolutely with any mRNA gene therapy experimental injections that anyone took. Has nothing to do with that at all. As we know, they're safe and effective, so COVID-19 could trigger a heart failure pandemic, which it hadn't happened the entire time, but now 3 years later, as it has mutated, it's become more dangerous, which is not generally how virology works, but we'll ignore that. Scientists from Japan's top research institute have issued a new report. They say that the ACE2 receptors, which coronavirus clings to within human cells, are very common in the heart. People were talking about ACE2 receptors being affected by the mRNA injections. I refuse to call them schmack-sheens because it's not. But people were warning of that same situation happening with the mRNA injections very early on, and those people were dismissed. Also, people warning of pathogenic priming, or ADE, which is antibody-dependent enhancement, that basically people who were saying that the injections were going to cause a lot more mutations. And we're still not going to talk about any of that. The news media is still not going to touch on any of that. We're going to pretend that all of that stuff is, hearsay and conspiracy theory and whatnot, as more people continue to suffer what seem to be, side effects of whatever they put into people. So that's fun. We'll move right along. So this story's kind of old now, I feel like, again, just because, the news cycle moves so quickly that, anything just kind of comes and goes at this point. But we do have this last thing we're going to get to today. The list of Jeffrey Epstein's associates named in a lawsuit must be unsealed. So this was something that came out like a week or so ago, that this federal judge ruled that they were going to have to unseal and make public the names of all of these associates of Epstein, and that this stuff was going to be coming out at the top of the year, pretty soon after New Year's. More than 150 names may be made public as part of a settled civil lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell, who was obviously Jeffrey Epstein's basically, co-defendant and assistant in this operation that he was running, this trafficking operation. And so to me, this story is kind of a nothing burger, man. Number one, I think it probably won't come out. And then, like I've been saying for a while, so what if it does at this point? So what if it does? I think it's disturbing that this story, the Jeffrey Epstein saga, if you will, has sort of turned into this like tabloid gossip blog sort of thing. It's like this speculative event where it's like, like they announcing this stuff like an album release or something, like oh, Jeffrey Epstein's list is gonna drop on on this day, and like it's like this event, and people are sort of like clamoring to see. And to me, it's just sort of like kind of disgusting. You want to see the names of people who, so that you can speculate about whether or not they are involved in child sex abuse. Knowing that we as a people have absolutely no mechanism of holding any of these people accountable, and even like just the claim of, it's Jeffrey Epstein, the list of his associates, like legally the term associate doesn't really mean anything. I mean, they're going to dilute the term associate to like the most dubious definitions and just pretty much write it off and say that that these people probably didn't do anything. And, like he had affiliations with all sorts of people. He was rich and, he went to the same parties, and it's not a big deal. So they're going to use this to just kind of muddy the waters. And, again, even if the list comes out when this is all over, I doubt that we have any more information or insight into that case than we had to start with. This seems like it's sort of just this next subtle step in normalizing this idea of child sex abuse and child trafficking, because you're sort of like teasing the public with this like idea of making this list of child sex offenders public, and that no criminal prosecutions are ever going to take place. So, again, it feels like they're sort of trying to normal this, but also kind of feels like another form of provocation, where it's like, even if this list is real and all of these people really are, suspected of having inappropriate contact with kids, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it, peasant? You can't, you have no power. You have no mechanism of sort of holding these people to account or punishing them or enforcing the law upon them. Like, these people are above all of that. They're above all of your social rules, all of your conventions, all of your laws. They don't care about you. They're laughing in your face. And so I think that's all this is, man. I don't think that any of the people involved in the Epstein thing will ever see justice. I don't even know if I believe that Ghislaine Maxwell is actually in prison right now. again, these people can do whatever they want, man. They showed you with COVID. They showed you that y'all will bow. All it takes is get your employer on board, or get law enforcement on board, and you will wear the mask. You will do what we say, and you'll never have an opportunity to slap our hand or to hold our feet to the fire. So, I know this seems like kind of a downer to go into 2024 with, man, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people think that this stuff is depressing and et cetera. But I emphasize awareness, because it's good to know that all of these things are going on, because again, in the event that the plug is pulled and that some any kind of funny business goes on, you can, if you're paying attention and you're watching the angles and you're understanding why certain people are trying to get you to respond to certain things and move in certain ways, you can sort of insulate yourself, or at least prepare yourself for whatever may be coming in the future. So again, just encouraging everybody to pay attention, mind your P's and Q's, and most importantly, start off your year right, man. Start off your year right. Get your fitness routines in order. Get your nutrition and your diets in order. New Year's resolutions, I don't personally make them. I'm not against anybody making them, but I think that they're sort of a cop-out. If you go and do it 365. Make it a lifestyle thing. It's not a flash in the pan, overnight cure. If you're not already dedicating yourself and you're not already practicing discipline, you're not going to make it. You're going to fail at your goals. And so if you want to succeed, the only thing to do is just make sure that you're doing it consistently over and over, making the right choices. So that's really the message of, that we'll kick off 2024 with, no matter what happens. I hope everybody stays safe. I hope y'all stay healthy, and I hope that y'all, again, stay aware. This is Foster the Podcast, signing off. Very happy new year to everybody, and we will catch you on the flip side. Peace.